Ba, 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 ba. Wait for this to load right now. Good morning. Good morning. I don't know if it's actually showing yet. I'm just waiting for it to show up on my screen that it's actually live. There's always like a 30-second delay or something. It kind of drives me nuts. Come on. There we go. All right, now we're live. Okay. All right. Right. Can you all see me now? I think it's I think we're all here. I think we're all here. I think we're live. I think we're ready. Da, da, da. Just check to make sure. Okay. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, etc., etc. Welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. Steve, to Jack, to Dawn, thank you all for being here. Good morning, good afternoon. Yeah, good. Good. You can all see me? Yes. All right. Where are we from? Where are we at today? Does the audience change outside of the window much? Probably does. Yurt. Donegal, Ireland. Good morning. Good evening. What time is it? 9:15 for me here. James, are we signing Rabiot or not? It's getting annoying every day in the news. Is it in the news a lot? So, yeah, why don't we start with that really quickly? I'll just answer that question while everybody's getting in here still. We have had talks with Rabiot. We had talks with Rabiot back in like June, July. We have even more recently, but the prices, the cost of the package that he's asking for, I think is very much putting everybody off. Right now, at least that's the case. But there has been some interest, some at least some tentative like conversations, but I think it's a little more driven by his side than ours. So I'd be surprised. I mean, weirder things have happened, but why do we need anyway? We'll talk about Ten Hag, we'll talk about Ugarte, we'll talk about Rabiot, player who's also not had a. He might take months. He might take months to be ready. Okay, months of paying him $250,000 a week to be ready because he's not having a preseason. He's not on a team right now. Toronto, London, Channel Islands, Waterford, Wales, Cork, Glasgow, Dartmouth, Turin. All right, Preston, Atlantis. Wow, that's good. Lagos, Nigeria, Oklahoma. Hello, money. Sup? Don't rate Rabiot at all. Me either, really. Not right now. Mauritius, Manchester, Kenya. Good morning, London, Barbados. Well, that's the amount he's asking for is significant. Very, very significant amount of money. That's what he's asking. He's not on anything because he doesn't have a team at the moment. Barbados, Los Angeles, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Durban, Nepal, Somalia, Poland, Egypt, DC, Canberra. Incredible. Love it. I love it. Well, make sure to like the stream, all of that. It's obviously always a little bit quieter outside of the window, so I appreciate everybody who continues to hang out with me and be a part of this wonderful thing. No, not Ugarte, Rabiot. If it would take him a long time. Smokey is in the chat. Okay, all right. Middle Earth. Okay, Braintree. Nice. All right. Yes. Okay. What do I want to talk about? Brazil with an S. Oh man, what do I want to talk about today? So a few things that I do want to go over. I want to talk through Ten Hag, what's going wrong, and why I said it. It is important weeks for Ten Hag, because it is, and we'll talk about that. We will talk about the Ugarte comments, and specifically, I want to explain why they're wrong. Not sure I've ever heard Donegal pronounced like that, and you probably never will hear it again. I want to talk about Casemiro, talk about the targets that I've been going over in some recent videos, and where things stand with all of that. So first and foremost, we're going to start with Mr. Ten Hag, the manager himself, and kind of the situation here and where things are at. It is important weeks for Ten Hag. He's not guaranteed to have the season just because. you know, they did not agree to terms for a contract this summer, and that is because they could not agree on terms, okay, after they'd made the decision to retain him. That is a fact. Some of the things that were proposed by Ineos, he turned down, didn't want in his contract, and they couldn't come to terms because Ineos, the new management and leadership, were not in agreement to extend his contract on the current terms beyond the option. So they didn't agree to a new deal. He's not here the whole season automatically if things continue the way that they're continuing. What they want to see out of Ten Hag is that they want, more important than anything else, is they want to see them playing, United playing, a very specific style of play. Not specific in terms of them selecting it, okay? And this I want to make very, very clear in terms of discussion, because it's important to understand it. They're not sitting down and saying you have to play exactly like this. You have to play these players, you have to put them in this position, you have to do this. What they've said was, this is our evaluation of the squad, of the team that we have, of what would define a good Manchester United team and what fits top-level play. And this is how, a general idea of how it should look. What are the principles that we like, that we see in a United team? And your job is figure out a consistent, predictable, understandable style of play that is successful, that is entertaining, and that gets results week in and week out. In the immediate, you don't have to win every game with it, but we want to see that coming through. We want to see that way of playing coming through. We want to see that style, that form, that all of that actually, we want to see it, that it's building, that it's happening. That's more important at the moment than than just the wins and the losses. That is more important for them because it is a long-term project. And if they were seeing this style, this way of playing that is a style that it could lead to long-term success, then Ten Hag will stay and they will continue to build it. And that is not, as of yet, they're not seeing it. Nobody is, because it has changed game to game, but there are also certain issues that make it nearly impossible for United to retain that kind of style. Now, other factors in this, in being specific, they did not feel that the style of play like that we played at the end of last year, like the FA Cup win style, the Newcastle, Brighton, is the way forward. A deep block 4-2-3-1 that hits only on the break. That was not even though that won some games at the end there, that was not an acceptable style for United moving forward. It is not a dominant, winning, title-winning level style of play. That conversation has happened to say that we cannot just go back and say we're just going to do that. Go deep, lock it up, and do that. That's not what we want. That's grinding out results. That is not the forward-thinking style of play that we want. That's why they didn't want Sofyan Amrabat, because under their consideration, they said, okay, yeah, he could play in that style. We don't want that. But that's not how we want to play moving forward. That's not the direction that we're aiming for. Yeah, and so they need to see something cohesive that works, that is attacking, that is controlling, and all of that. And, and then they also need to see other factors, things that concerned them last year. The relationship between him and the players has to be good. They can't have the drama that they're having, which unfortunately it's already starting a little bit. Part of the problem is that it's already messy, and I'm trying not to be too negative about it, but the stuff essentially with the midfield and all of that, and the disagreements over it and the things with Amrabat and Ugarte, which we'll talk about in a minute, are a big sign of the problem. and the lack of cohesiveness and clarity in this area. I did see the Athletic piece, and if you've listened to me, I've said for a long time, I see us wanting to play a similar way to Liverpool. That's what I said at the start of summer. That's what I said our team suits. That's what I said it looks like to me. Like, that is the direction that they're going. So I agree with that. There are similarities between us and Liverpool, but here's the difference. Ten Hag is really bad at setting up the team to play the way Liverpool play. And Klopp was very good at setting up the team to play the way Liverpool play. What are the major differences? Number one, the press. The line actually follows the press under Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool and the way Liverpool play. Their back line and their fullbacks follow the press intensively. Okay? They follow the press intensively out of possession they have. That has been a hallmark. We don't. We drop off. Two, their midfield does not have the gaps. They use the three in a very interchanging way. They always have, in order to move and manipulate defenses around rather than trying to funnel everything through one player who's rushing into the forward line constantly. And then I would say the third biggest difference, and this is all tactical in terms of setting it up properly as compared to Liverpool and how Liverpool have done it in the past, is in possession. Klopp probably wouldn't have Bruno in this midfield. You're absolutely right about that too. In possession, Liverpool know when to go fast and when not to, and they're very heavily instructed, and even Slot has slowed them down more to retain possession at times. And even during their best years, they didn't always go 100 miles an hour in attack. They didn't. I want to show something. That's a good point here. Because I did this. I went back through like our games, okay? And I have one tattoo right here. I went back through our games. And I'm not going to go through all of this, but I want to explain, because one of the things I've been talking about, and this is to me one of the biggest problems that throws everything off. And I've said it for a long time about Ten Hag, that the biggest problem he has is he doesn't know how to set up his team to score goals in the Premier League. He doesn't have, our attacking third patterns have been so bad, worse than under any other manager since Sir Alex, under Ten Hag. In the attacking third, the patterns, they're not there. They're completely non-existent. Even under Oli, we had them more consistently. Everything comes down to scoring goals. When I went to this Brighton game, for example, because here's why. I want to tell you. This is why I said the Brighton game. A lot of people were like, "Well, it's a really good game. It's a good example. We could win." All of that, and I'm going to tell you the exact problem. There was a time here for 3-4 minutes straight where we were attacking really well in forward areas, controlling possession, holding the ball, all of that. Counter-pressing. Look at how many men we have forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're swarming them. We lose the ball. Xerxes wins it back. But then here's what happens. And this is the biggest problem with United this season and what Ten Hag has to fix, because it breaks our entire team. We win the ball back. We go back to Onana and he kicks it long. Now, look where his center backs are. Look how deep the center backs are. Look how deep the midfield are. And look at the gaps that are going to start to form when we lose the ball. Look, we lose the ball after going long to one guy down the middle. I think it was Dallo. So our fullback is up here. Bruno's rushing forward. Ahmad's going forward. Garnacho's over here going forward. We lose the ball. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 men behind the play already. One pass. Brighton are in, and they have a 3-on-2. And almost a 5-on-3. One pass because we went long. Because we have to rush to try to score goals so quickly. One pass, and they're in. Now, they messed it up. They messed this up. Lissandro made a good tackle, but they could have gone to the left, right? They messed this up. The following play is when Garnacho scores and it's ruled out, okay? So when someone says, well, we got unlucky. No, we didn't. We got lucky they didn't score right before we scored, because we made it a basketball game, and we're a little bit better than other teams at basketball. We have better individual talents. That's the only difference between us and these other teams. We have better individual talents. We made it a basketball game. We went long. Our forwards made better decisions than their forwards. That's it. That's the only thing we do better than anybody else under Ten Hag. That's why he wants a basketball game, because our forwards actually are better. They're faster and they tend to be more talented, but only in these specific scenarios are they better. We are better at playing basketball. So when we try to make it a basketball game, we win. And that's why we get so many injuries. This is, yeah, correct. This is one sequence of play. It goes from one end of the pitch to the other and back in, let's see, 68. How long does this all happen in? A single minute. A single minute. It goes back, forth in 1 minute. And then wait, I want to tell you this again. I want to show you this too. This is when we conceded. Not an accident. Not an accident. Onana passes to Lissandro here at the 93rd minute. Lissandro goes long up to Kabi. Look at the gaps already. Look at how far these gaps are. Look at how big and not. This is 93rd minute. Look at the huge gaps in the team. We lose the ball. Now look, we have 5 guys forward. Look, you want to praise? Sit there and praise McTominay? Go for it. Watch him jog. He's sitting there, standing there. We lose the ball. He's behind it. He's not even running. This is what we do. Anthony's running, to his credit. But look at the gaps. We went long. We lost it. And then we're behind the play. Brighton are in. They get a corner off of that, and that's when they score. It's not an accident. It's not an accident. It is on purpose. This is why we don't play well. This is why we don't play well. We try to score instantly. Yeah, he probably did tell him. He probably did tell him that because he wants him up near the opposition goal to score. It's probably on Ten Hag. I should be fair on McTominay there. That is probably on Ten Hag. He wants him up near the opposition goal and waiting to spring into the attack because he brought Bruno off for him. You're probably totally right there. You're probably totally correct. But this is why. This is the answer. And if you watch Liverpool, it's the same thing. We just go all the way, over and over and over, and try to speed to the goal every single time. And whenever we do, that's when we concede. That's when we give up chances. That's when we lose control of the games. And funnily, I watched it. I watched the whole games again of Brighton and Fulham. When we slow it down and control possession, we make chances. We win. We press well. We do it well. But we rush consistently. And that's my concern. I don't see why we can fix that, because it's obviously the plan. It's plan A. It's the instruction. What are you going to do? Now, let's talk about Ugarte then really quick. This is my concern with Ugarte at the moment. Is he is not going to... Fulham was way more patient. I mean, I have pictures. If I could go back to Fulham if you want me to. But, Fulham, we spent minutes in their half winning the ball high, pressing high, keeping it high. Look at how high the center backs are. Because we play possession, once again, we lose it, we win it right away. It's all very high. Look at how many men we have in the box. Look where Maguire is. That's a high press. And whenever we slowed it down and built up into their half, we create better and better chances. So, yes, we did slow it down a lot against Fulham. You can watch. We went 20, 30, 40 minutes straight, slowing it down, controlling the game. And, let's go talk about Ugarte. The problem with it is if we keep doing what we're doing now, Ugarte will help us. He will help us because we'll win some more of those high balls. We'll win some more on the counter press. We'll win some more in the gaps in the midfield. We'll be more combative. But he's not going to solve that problem because he's going to get bypassed too. Because if you're going to ask him to defend big spaces, he's going to do it better than Casemiro at the moment. But he's not going to do it too well. But there's another reason for this. And this is a real concern to me. And this is why when you say... the problem with the comments of it might take weeks or months or any of that. And look, I know what all he said about getting up and hasn't done this and needs to contribute to our level. Bullshit. I'm sorry, it's bullshit. It's not true. One, he's extremely fit already. He's in shape. He's playing under Bielsa's system at Uruguay. And just, he is, I know for a fact, he is viewed as a player who's incredibly fit by the people in the club already. They're already impressed with his physical levels and that he's probably above most of our players. In terms of fitting into the team, that's nonsense. This is, when has this been normalized that when you sign a player, it takes them weeks and months to bed into a team? When you're winning titles, maybe, to start fitting in, even then, people are coming in quickly. Antony played right after he was signed. De Ligt didn't have a preseason at all either, and he played very, very quickly. Ugarte can play. He absolutely can play, and he should. And the problem is, you don't have weeks or months. And Ugarte doesn't have to get up to our level of play, as was described. We need to raise our level of play to meet better players like Ugarte. He'd have to take a step down to be fitting into the way we play now. Okay? He has to play. We have a good player there. He has to play. And and here's another reason why, because this is a problem. In all of Europe, Kobbie Mainoo is second in all of Europe. And look at the number of minutes, 264. Second in all of Europe in the number of interceptions. And on the same list, you can see, until you get down to Mario Lemina, he has the highest number of tackles as well. If you look at his statistics overall, he is... Hang on. I think this is the wrong thing. Switch it to the Premier League. If you look at his statistics, the amount of defensive work that he is having to do per game, 9 duels per game, is painful. And it's going to ruin him. It's going to ruin him. It is going to destroy him as a talent if we continue to do this. He's exhausted. Every single game, he's playing way too much. He's doing way too much. He's having to cover way too much ground. Ugarte will help that because he will cover more ground and do more of the defensive work. Kobbie cannot keep this up. Again, the most in all of England in terms of interceptions. And it's good on Kobbie, but this is a problem. That is not what he's supposed to be as a player. This is not what he's supposed to be. That is not what he's supposed to be. When you look at errors, Casemiro is leading the league in errors. Kobbie has 1 as well. These are all from Liverpool, I think. But Casemiro leading the league in errors leading to goal as well. Like, this can't continue. And when you look at the schedule, we have a couple winnable games. Southampton, Barnsley, Crystal Palace is actually a pretty tough game. 20, of course, we should win that. But then look at the schedule after this. Tottenham, Porto, Villa, Brentford, who has slapped Ten Hag. Thomas Frank has really slapped Ten Hag over the time he's been here. Fenerbahce with Jose, West Ham, and Chelsea. These are all tough games. Every single one of them is a tough game. So why are these important weeks for Ten Hag? Because you have Southampton, Barnsley, Palace, and 20 to get it right. You have those games to get it right. You have those games to fix what's going on right now and to improve the team. Those are the games you have to get this setup correct. You to get this fixed. This is the time to do it. And and that's like right up until the international break. The international break, the next one falls kind of after, I think, the middle of those games. This is a period Ten Hag's being judged on. Like I said, he's not getting the whole season automatically. They need to see change. They need to see improvement. They need to see things getting better. They need to see that this style and this football is improving during this period of time. They don't want, after Villa, okay, they don't want to wait and waste the season and have it keep going like this. That's not my opinion. That is a fact. They do not want to waste the season. And they don't feel that they have to. If it isn't working, they feel they have a lot of people in place that would help support the club at this point in time. So they've got to do better. They've got to do better. You know, it has to be better. It has to improve. It has to change. You know, and the reason that these comments are that I talk about with Ugarte are foolish are for three reasons. Number one, you don't have weeks and months to fix the team. You have the next 3 or 4 games before it gets really tough. And even these, obviously, you have to actually win. These are ones you can't lose. There's games you can lose. If you're playing good football and progressing stylistically, there's games you can lose. You can lose. Ten Hag can lose games this year. You can't lose these ones over the next 4. You can't. But you also cannot do so playing horrible football because it's not going to change anybody's mind. So you don't have weeks and months. Okay? The reason Ugarte doesn't have a preseason with United, in part, is because you didn't want him in the first place over losing McTominay. Make that clear. You didn't want him if it meant losing McTominay, and that was a delay in the deal for some time. You had disagreement over him originally over what it might mean if you had to sign him. That is a fact. That is a part of the reason Ugarte's not in earlier, so you don't get to make those comments. And 3, you've lost 2 of your first 3 games. You need to put a player in and fix it. And then 4 is Casemiro's completely out of his head, okay? Casemiro is unhappy. You see the leaks and things like that. I mean, there's been leaks from the Casemiro side, and I'm not taking his side on this either, because there's been leaks from Casemiro's camp, like from Brazil, from Luckhurst, from all sorts of people for months. I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's acceptable, but I do understand why he's unhappy. And part of the problem is when you've fallen out with Ronaldo, when you fell out with Rafael Varane, and these are Casemiro's friends, these are Casemiro's colleagues, these are people Casemiro won multiple Champions Leagues with. You got a little bit of a situation here, and that's a part of the squad dynamics and understanding it. Okay, it's part of the squad dynamics and understanding them that it's tricky, you know. And Casemiro's also looking at it and saying, I'm sure he's saying this wasn't what I signed up for, which was sort of the leak from today. This is not what I signed up for, to be put in an impossible position that I can't succeed in. Yeah, he has not been good. I thought that I caught a lot of heat because in season 1, I thought Casemiro was pretty bad towards the end of the season. You know, he got that red card. He got another red card. He had some real bad games. Now, he helped us win the trophy against Newcastle in that time, but he was pretty bad to end the season. And in the second season, I wasn't totally surprised. He kind of showed up, you know, unfit to me. So I'm not absolving Casemiro in the slightest of this. You know, I think he should have gone this year. Humphrey Iguan, you think Arvian takes over after? I think there's a decent chance. Yeah, he had a good couple months, but he hasn't been good around that. So I'm not taking Casemiro on this side on this in the slightest. As an interim, though, if Van Nistelrooy were to take over, we as fans are delusional. It took Alex Ferguson almost 6 years to get it right. See, it's the worst possible argument, I'm sorry to say, to compare it to the late 80s and early 90s. Football isn't like that anymore. And taking 6 years to get it right means what? What do you see during those 6 years? We're worse than we were before the start of these 3 years right now. We're a worse team today with a lot more money spent than we were back then. It's a different world. It's a different world. There's no way anybody is getting 6 years to fix a club. It didn't take City 6 years to win titles. You know, people used to talk last year. We're given the example of Arsenal and Arteta. Well, in their third season, that was the season they started competing for the league. You know, that was the season they started competing for the league. Was the third season. You can't. It's not like that. This is the year we should see progress. But here's the thing. We don't have to win it this year. You know, it doesn't have to be finished this year. You know, it doesn't. You don't. Football's the same. Score more goals than your opponent and you win. Good. Yes. The competition's a lot different. You don't have to win it this year. Ten Hag doesn't have to win it this year. Wouldn't say he has to win anything this year to be a success. I wouldn't say he has to at all. But you can't just throw it out like it takes 6 years. Well, what takes 6 years? Because you could be bad for 10 years. You could be bad for 20 years. You know, you have to see progress during that period of time. That's what we want to see this year. That's what I'm talking about. That's how we have to judge. Sir Alex Ferguson had also won a European Cup with, oh my God, why does it escape me now? Of course, anyway, with Aberdeen. Before that, I mean, he was a very accomplished manager at the top. Had won the biggest trophy in football by that point in time, not just the Dutch league. There's a difference as well. Aberdeen, yeah. So anyway, there's huge differences, and comparing him to Sir Alex is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. Like, if you have to do that, you've already lost the discussion. It's not helping you anywhere. So what I'm saying is progress. You don't have to win anything yet. You don't have to win anything because it's going to take more than this year to fix things. I think it's going to take 2 more years, not this year, not next year, but the following year when we're ready to win titles. But you need progress in order to get there. You need progress in order to get there. So that's what is being judged this year. A cohesive style of play and progress. And that's what we haven't seen yet to start the season. Yeah, last manager to meet Madrid in a European final with Aberdeen. Exactly. And I think Klopp in his 3rd season made it to the Champions League final or what have you. Something like that. So we need consistency. We need to be beating the teams we should beat easily. And we need to be competitive. There is a sign of progress, and that's what we need to see. And during this period, Ten Hag will be judged on that. Can we see that? And the biggest thing that will make a difference is, number 1, fixing this midfield. We have to control the midfield, and that means putting Ugarte in. That'll help. That will help. We're relieving some of the burden on Casemiro. And then if you're trying to shore up games, put Casemiro next to Ugarte at 60 minutes. Why not? Then you could actually see out a game, and you have the physicality, you have all of it. Yeah. So, you know, you have to do that. You've got to. And many clubs will sign a player and put them in right away. Yeah. Klopp in 2.5 years changed his whole squad, bar 2 and 3 players. Have you seen our team? Have you seen our team? It is different. The only 2 players remaining in our starting 11 are Rashford and Bruno. Dalla was on loan. He wasn't playing for us. There's nobody else here. There's nobody else here. We had 4 out of 5. Shaw, yeah, if he's playing, but he hasn't been. We had 4 out of 5 Ajax players in our back line last week. It didn't seem to help, did it? Come on, like, get it together. Yeah, Shaw and Rashford from Mourinho, exactly. Those are the only 2 from that long ago, and then Bruno, you know. So, anyway. All right, so that's what we need to fix. That's what we're being judged on. This is easily the best team that we've had since Sir Alex, since probably 2012. I mean, because the team he managed to win a title with in 2013 was obviously on its last legs, though much better players, you know, in their primes. Yeah, so we should be very excited about this team. And it's kind of a shame that we're not very excited about this team. New Carrington updates. Yeah, they're still working on it, right? But there's a lot happening there. They're still overhauling a bunch of staff. You know, one of the crazy things that I did want to talk about, if you're like on LinkedIn, just this is an interesting thing to do. If you're on LinkedIn, connect with a bunch of United accounts and you'll find something amazing. I get 3-4 emails, notifications a day of staff leaving United right now as a part of this overhaul that's been going on and these voluntary redundancies. And I'm not just talking like everybody's at the bottom. Scouts who've been there for 25 years, you know, top executives in different positions, all, you know, up every day a new post. You know, I've decided to leave United. I've enjoyed these last years, blah, 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 all these types of things. It's really illuminating to see that, you know, and obviously these are the names and things that don't actually get into the news. And I'm not saying that this means they're bad. like these are all bad staff or they were underperforming or that they were doing something wrong. United were overstaffed, as we know, and that's why all these people were why all these people were why we said we're going to have to cut 25% of the workforce, all the things that we know have been being done from a financial perspective. That's all been happening pretty regularly. And so, yeah, definitely, it's just an interesting thing to see that. And yes, applications for new jobs, new medical staff, new other positions, data analysts, all of that. So yeah, it's quite interesting just to see that. It's just very interesting to see that kind of happening, in the real world, that you're seeing this actually occur. Because usually, you only see like, oh, when it's Richard Arnold leaving or it's this guy leaving or somebody like that. And physio, they were advertising for someone to work with Jordan Reese, one of the new physio there today. Just want to say thanks, James. Love following your work. Appreciate it. So anyway, that's just an interesting thing. There's obviously a lot of overhauls, offering a lot of staff departures, as well as hiring new people, different positions, changing the roles, all of that. As long as Kathy, the receptionist, is still there. Look, and a lot of this is voluntary in a sense, like, voluntary redundancy is a nice way to put it. But, obviously there's people are being given the choice first who wants to leave. And a lot of people are taking that up because of the changing of, being able to work from home or from a distance to having to be in the office and these types of things. A lot of people are leaving because of that kind of stuff. But obviously that's a part of them choosing this. Like they're doing things to push people out as well, which we know. And it's an unfortunate thing. It does not mean the people leaving are all, bad, that there's anything wrong with them. My point is, it's not like, oh, hey, yes, celebrate that guy left. There's people, it was worth celebrating them leaving, but it's not a lot of these guys. So it's a change. It's a change. It's definitely a change, and, a necessary one, but a difficult one, and one that's probably certainly met with a bit of unpopular, not a lot of popularity. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of people, and it's certainly very mixed, the view, understandably. It's really interesting, the perspective from inside United, from staff. Obviously, there's a lot of hesitancy with the things that Ineos are doing, with the overhauls. A lot of things happened like really fast with the Carrington stuff and all that, where people were not really giving warning, and they just, and it was like they were coming in hard to start making these changes and drive these changes, and it's been difficult. And for a lot of people, it's certainly unfamiliar territory, and they're looking at it, and it's been difficult for a lot of people in the club to deal with. But at the same time, there's a lot of also optimism, like in the plan, in the future, and all of that as well. So it's a give and take. Of being excited, of being interested, and being concerned about all the change and everything that's happening, that is happening very quickly. So, it definitely, and there has, the women's team thing was a problem. Like, certainly, I think I said this a long time ago when people were asking me, and I wish I had had a better answer. They didn't know what to do with the women's team when they first came in, and that is a fact. They had no idea what to do. Since Dan Ashworth's come in, it's gotten better, and they did do a lot this summer to actually help with the window, but like, they had no idea what to do. And when they went through the Carrington stuff originally, they had no idea what to do with the women's team. And it was definitely, they weren't prepared for it, and maybe that they couldn't be prepared for it with the time that they had, and they didn't want to delay getting started on things. But it was definitely not an ideal situation, what they were putting the women's team through, and the difficulties there for a while. I think they've done better now since Dan Ashworth has come in at prioritizing. I think he spoke about that, and having more experience in all the areas of football to help with it. And then in the end, they actually had a pretty decent window, I think, and all of that. So yeah, Dan Ashworth has made a big difference since they got him in. And I think that was really important, because they truly did not know what to do before he came in with the women's team. They had nobody with the experience. Ironically, again, Murtaugh was the one who would have had more experience with the women's team, and he left. So before Dan Ashworth coming in, they were in a difficult situation for sure with that, and it wasn't great, but I think it's got better since then, and hopefully will continue to improve, for sure. and I think they did do well this summer with the women's and men's team in terms of transfers overall. So yes, that leads me to the segue into the next section, which is targets. Now, in the last couple of videos, I've been speaking about some of the younger players, some of the targets that we might look at, some of the individuals we're talking about for the future. And I was really intrigued by the links to Anthony Robinson. I think there was a story from Alan Nixon, who would tend to be pretty good with players in this area. About United being interested in potentially a January deal for Anthony Robinson. And I think he's a really good player. I mean, last year, Anthony Robinson was probably one of the best left backs in the league. Now, I called him a young player. And for whatever reason, I don't know, how long has Anthony Robinson been in the league? For some reason, I have this perception of him as a bit of a newer player. Now, I'm getting old, so 27 is young to me. He's an American, which is very exciting for me, and will probably stir up people not wanting to sign him. But he's a good player. So he's only been playing in the league for like 4 years, right? Yeah, and he was in the championship before that, I would imagine. Yeah, okay, that's why. So he's been in the league for 4 years. But I think part of the thing is, like we signed Mazraoui, same age, right? Yeah, yanks out, exactly. We signed Mazraoui, same age. I think when you're talking about fullbacks, especially when we don't really, with Luke Shaw, the issue is he may never be healthy enough again, right? Because he's, the big injury that he has, his body's just different. And there's issues that he's going to have that he will always have. Robinson last year was a monster defensively, and very good in a lot of areas in his progressions, all of that. Crossing, you can see not that great. Specifically on the left, this is like XG and XA, not that high, but not low either, not bad. I mean, last year Luke Shaw was a bad, not so great, because he didn't play that much. But yeah, I think he's a really good option. When you look at like him, Aït-Nouri, and Kirk as 3 Premier League experienced players, I think he'd be the best of them. But Kirkes is a really good one, as well, who's young, who is young actually, and could develop a lot further. His physical tools are I think, very good. But yeah, he's soon to be coached by the fullback whisperer Pochettino, and that is actually a good point, because Pochettino and his fullbacks is quite impressive. I'm curious to see what you think. These are obviously not the only option, but I really think United should need this badly, and I think we need one in January, and I think we could spend the money on it. My concerns with Aït-Nouri are defensively, he's not good. He's not very good. Defensively, he's suspect. Now Luke Shaw is too, to be fair. Luke Shaw is fairly suspect defensively, so it's sort of on the priorities. But if we could get Amos some little minutes to develop behind and get a more established player, then that would probably be better. Like Robinson and Amos would be nice. Now it's obviously a bit of a tricky part here, because then you'd have a left back, you'd have Shaw, you'd have Malacia and Amos, but yeah, a lot of players, but at the same time, like, I've seen this name. I don't know if he's going to be in this database yet or not. Is it Patrick Dorgu? Is this the left back? I have this right. Yeah, he's got good stats. He's got good stats offensively, in the final third especially. I imagine that's what people are talking about. He's got good final thirds, like the things that he does in the final thirds. Robinson and Braithwaite on the left side of the defense is complete. Yeah, and I think that's a fair opinion, a fair idea of Robinson winning that vote. Kirk as a second. It's interesting, but yeah, I mean, this is a little bit of a conundrum here, right? Because it's a little bit of a conundrum because you've got all these players, but you have 2 in Shaw and Malacia who you cannot rely on their fitness, but you still have them. So what do you do? I I think you sign someone and you loan Amos maybe, and you let Luke Shaw be your rotate with Anthony Robinson, so at least you have one really good fullback at all times, or with a player like Kirkes or something as well. So it's a curious problem, but it's one they've got to solve, and I think that we need, and then maybe some Malacia away as well to see if he can get back any sort of fitness, and just live with it, right? I don't remember how long Luke Shaw's contracted for, but that would be my way of looking at it, what I would figure that you need to do. Yeah, Dennis Irwin would be a good option. Yeah. Malacia wasn't expensive, so we're not going to take a big loss on him. And Shaw, we don't owe anything on. So it's sort of like, it's not terrible that they're hanging around versus, players who we spent a lot of money for that aren't playing. It's not as painful, because we're not really spending money beyond some wages in that position, which makes it a little bit better. Theo Hernandez, Alphonso Davies. Yeah, someone was saying that in the last one, like, if you could somehow sneak Alphonso Davies away from Madrid, from Madrid getting him, I would absolutely take Alphonso Davies for sure. Talk about adding some pace, some physicality, a physical profile to the team. Someone with some speed, and those kind of tools. That would be something. But yeah, Malacia will have 1 year next year. Shaw will have 1 year next year, maybe 1+1, perhaps. So maybe 2. Yeah, I mean, Davies would be cool, but yeah, I think it's really tough. I think it'd be really tough to do. But yeah, look, there's a lot of options, and it kind of depends on the profile. I think the problem here is we need someone who's established. That's my feeling, right? Is we need someone established. We bought young players in a lot of positions, but we need someone really established here. And that's my feeling at the moment. He will have 2 years on his... Yeah, so... But yeah, so if Shaw was a rotation with a more established player, that would be good. But then where's your line for Amos? If it's a young player, it's the same problem, though. And I know established equals expensive, but I think we are in the position where we could spend a bit of money next year and through January to get some established players to round the team out. But as well, sticking with the profiles of young. And that's part of the important thing as well, is that the targeting is going to continue. And which is a good point, by the way, to bring up. The targeting is going to continue with, good young players. And obviously there's those left backs. I really like Kirkes. We know United are interested in him. He's actually one that was confirmed. I'd been talking about him before summer. He's one of the names on our list. Hang on a second. He was one of the names on our list, and I think it's one of the ones that was confirmed by Fabrizio, right? That he said we bring in a new left back for sure this summer, but we didn't. But we weren't targeting one, to be fair. See, this is kind of shows you how things change. This was back in June. He was talking since March that we definitely will bring a left back in, and. I had it as a high priority on our list too, with Kirkes, Aït-Nouri, Anthony Robinson, all listed. We didn't, but 30 to 40 million for Kirkes. But I'm bringing this up because it's a name that's been confirmed that we're interested in. So we've had some solid reports to also confirm Kirkes and Anthony Robinson. I think we had reports a while ago on Aït-Nouri. But certainly these are interesting players. If we sign a left back, Luke Shaw will go into overdrive again. Well, so be it. If he thrives on competition, then so be it, right? That's good for us. So anyway, that's just one worth watching there. That's a really important position that I think we could move on in January potentially. In the midfield, I don't see us doing anything. I mean, like we spoke about Rabiot at the beginning, that United have had some talks with him, but I feel it's pushed a little more by his side. And the amounts of money that they're asking for is just too much. It's way too much. It's way too much given the situation. I think they'd only want to take Rabiot on like a very short-term affordable deal. Very short-term, because they have plans in the midfield, which we're going to want to talk about now. Which is, we've talked about a number of young players. different profiles, right? There's Nippon Mastantuono. Now, there's a name that's been brought up a couple times by Spanish media recently. Does anybody have it? There was a story on it just this morning, and I don't know what kind of player this is. It was brought up by Spanish media a couple times, saying United are watching him. He's is it Sanchez? Is his last name Sanchez? No, not that one. It's a different one. Juan Lu Sanchez, yeah, that one. Yeah. This one. Yeah. Let me just look him up real quick. So he's a right back. I don't know what the hell he is, what type of player he is. So he's a fullback. Interesting. Got a lot really good stats, but I don't know what kind of player he is or how that would make any sense for us. Anyway, just interesting. Unless he plays left back too, but oh God, his stats are. I mean, here I'll just pull it up. His stats for a fullback are incredible. Yeah, no, I'm not rating that one report on Canales at this point in time, and they can keep sending the little minions into my comments to insult me for not doing so, but couldn't care less about that report. Yeah, I mean, this is, wow, it's a hell of a fullback. That is a hell of a fullback. Anyway, interesting. So, you know, we've looked at some different players. Nippon Mastantuono, he plays in place of Jesus Navas, a winger, but he's very versatile. Okay, interesting. You know, cool. So, you know, we've looked at that. Then there's Pafundi. Yeah, good point. He was out there. And then there's, in the deeper midfield positions, you know, Hackney. We've talked about him. We talked about him before summer, too. Hayden Hackney at Middlesbrough. Very much in the vein of Michael Carrick type of player. Obviously, playing under Michael Carrick, really quite similar. I mean, there's a really quite similar in terms of style, in terms of the way he's playing, in terms of what he's learning to be. Really good player. And I think you know, I'd love to get someone like that in there, get another good young midfielder into the team from, you know, I think the championship has produced some really good talents for England. And, you know, obviously there's familiarity there. But he plays a lot like Carrick, and you can read some reports on him. And he does what he brings to the table. I mean, it was funny because you watch like that Legends match. I don't know if any of you watched it, but honestly, like the intelligence and the movement from like Rooney dropping in and Carrick and all of that is better than ours currently. It's better than ours currently. At their advanced age, you can see it. At their advanced age, you know, but in their retirements, they still look better in terms of without, you know, in this one-off Legends match, in terms of being on the same page about where to go and where to be in the midfield. It was hilarious, but yes, a Carrick-like player to bring in would be incredible. And yeah, Adam Wharton, obviously the other name we've talked about many times. And yeah, we know he's going to be extremely expensive. Palace are going to make it tough. That City are going to be in for him. You know, plenty of clubs are going to be in for him. And so, you know, it's going to be difficult. But that's why I like the idea of looking at someone like Hackney. Yeah, since ironically Carrick, yes, we've not, you know. But I looked at like Matic, you know, like bringing in, like when we brought in Matic, that was kind of the idea originally, right? He's not quite got the passing range, but his control from deep, his ability to evade the press, his movements, his defensive work is very, I mean, he was an anchor in midfield. And unfortunately, when he came back from the World Cup, the injuries had caught up to him, and he had that surgery and he slowed down. But when he was brought in originally, I thought he did that for a short time under Jose. And there were moments, right, where with Pogba and such, he did really well. And that was the closest we've gotten to having somebody to really hold down, you know, that deeper position. And not the same player for sure, but a similar in terms of the ability to hold things down. If Roger goes to Madrid, then City will go for Wharton for sure. And that's a real possibility, I would imagine, all of those things happening. So, you know, targeting there, and then on the wing, you know, maybe Gianlu Sanchez is a right winger, you know, because we're talking about, yeah, bringing a younger Matic, exactly. We're talking about right wingers, right? We're talking about right wingers. We talked about Asani Diao. We talked about some of those names. maybe that's where Juanlu, I should probably say it right. I'm going to say it's Juanlu, right? Juanlu Sanchez, maybe that's where he comes into play. Is that if he is potentially as a right winger type of player, who's hardworking, who gets up and down the pitch, then maybe if I don't know, if he's seen as that type of position, then maybe that makes sense as if he'd be signed as a forward. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know enough about the player to see that. To know whether that would be the case. There's just been a few reports about him, and it's been intriguing because I know nothing about him as a footballer at all. But my view on it now is that if we've got a center back, a left back, a midfielder, and a winger to get in, then we need to then it'd be all right to spend some decent money there. Juanlu Sanchez, yeah, all right. I mean, positionally, certainly gets about. I mean, Hayden Hackney can defend. Hayden Hackney is a very intelligent defender, if that's what you're talking about. Yeah, young attacking midfielders, Baturina, Mastantuono, Nippon. Yeah, and a long-term Bruno replacement, essentially. A long-term Bruno replacement. If we look at it, we extended Bruno for a year, but wanting someone to come in and be able to take over that kind of option. Yeah, I mean, here, just looking at Juanlu Sanchez, I mean, he certainly gets up and down the pitch a lot. There's no doubt about that. When you look at his positioning, this is more midfield right winger than it is defender this year. Interesting. He was at Barcelona. Of course he was. Where did he play in the Champions League? I mean, he's a fullback, but I mean, advanced right wing back, right mid, practically, if anything. So intriguing. That could be, that could be. You never know. That could be. Left center back options other than Braithwaite. I have to go back and look because we did have a few other ones as an idea, but I don't recall if we had anybody, specific else that was the top of our list. Obviously, Braithwaite was. We liked Guehi, but I think he's way too expensive, and I don't think he's the right profile necessarily. Who else? I'll try to remember who else I had on my list. Obviously, we're going to add more through the season. Gonzalo Ignacio, but we'll see how he does at Sporting this season as well, because he stayed, right? Yeah, Ignacio. Hanchko, yeah, he was mentioned. So, yeah. But we'll see, right? We'll see. There's going to certainly be others through the course of the season. We know who we really do like, but obviously in terms of buying them, seeing how they perform this year is going to matter. How does Kirkes come along? How does Aït-Nouri come along? Does Anthony Robinson stay good? Does Braithwaite come along after returns from his injury? How does Ignacio play? All these young forwards and wingers, what do they do? These young midfielders, what do they do? How does Hayden Hackney get on? How does Wharton get on? All of these things are going to be things that can certainly change. And then obviously they're going to start adding many, many names. One of the things I do hope at the same time is that, Brighton did recruit from South America. And obviously I think Dan Ashworth has been a part of, broadening the recruitment along with Chris Vivell coming in. So maybe we will finally, we've been talking about these targets from South America for ages and ages and ages. And we haven't really yet moved on them, but maybe now we're finally ready. Mastantuono, like we talked about. Yeah, so we will see. I don't know anything on Morgan Rogers as an option for the future, man. I could only tell you that interesting, exciting kind of player coming forward, But yeah, I don't know anything about him as a target, and I probably won't for a while. So moving on to Southampton, just talk about this. We're going to obviously do on Friday. We'll do our normal. We're the first game. On Friday, we'll do our normal, pre-match vote, all of that kind of stuff. But the biggest thing right now is we need change. Things have to improve. We cannot just keep doing what we were doing. We cannot just keeping going with that. Things have to get better. Things have to get better. And I really do think Ugarte has to start in that game. There's just too much with the whole situation with Casemiro, with all of that. We have to fix that. We have to make changes, and I think we need a convincing performance. And I understand it's the early game back, but there's really no excuses. We have to perform well. Yeah, Manchester United recruiting. Yeah, and I saw the ad for it, and that's one of the things when you're talking about the medical department. They're not there to prevent injuries; they're there to get them back on the field quicker, and that's one of the improvements we'll hope to see. So Southampton is a big game. These games coming up, these next ones over the next few weeks, these 4 games should be winnable. We need to win them. Ten Hag needs to win them, and he needs to make the changes that we've seen, slowing down play, following up the press, closing the gaps in the midfield. Closing the gaps in the midfield, and just we need to be more dominant, and we cannot continue to play the way that we have. So let's see what happens this weekend. I think it'll be an interesting sign. Like I said, he really does have to get Ugarte on the pitch as soon as possible. Hold on a second. So more possession, all of that, follow up the press. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that need to improve. We need to see the style coming through. We need to see some consistency. We need to see the consistency. We could lose a game or not win because we just didn't finish our chances. We cannot keep losing and not winning because we play bad football and we're not in control of games and we're desperate. That can't happen. So that's what needs to improve. That's what needs to fix. If things don't change, Runa number 1. Thank you for the donation, my man. If things don't change, it seems we can expect a change in manager who the options replace at Ten Hag. And I don't want to talk about that yet. Because my intention isn't just to like dump all over this. I'm talking what is being looked at and just the reality of the situation. The names probably have changed a lot from when we were there last, talking about it before summer, talking about it last year with new people coming in. That being said, I wouldn't be, if something were to happen, I wouldn't be surprised to see Ruud as the interim for some time and just working on what they want to work on and implementing what the club want to work on. So, and then decide later. I think that the issue is with Thomas Tuchel is that essentially turned us down and wanted to take a year off, and I think it would be difficult to go back to that situation. Yeah, a bit random. What do you do on your Patreon? It's just a couple channels to hang out with. I do a lot of little updates in there on things that I'm talking about, things that we're looking at, all of that. Information before I come and do these videos, some of the context surrounding things. There's a lot more in there, frankly. It's just a lot easier to be able to, privately share a lot more. It's just what it is. And especially ahead of time, as I'm working on it, questions I'm asking, things I'm doing. So a lot of people join for that, but then there's a lot of, it's just a fun place to hang out too. It's where I spend most of the time with the community. Yes, obviously Nagelsmann, I think, would be the one. Nagelsmann would be the one people would love to see. There was issues with that, but we'll see. Dan Ashworth is in now, and I think he's making the calls on any of this stuff. He'll be the kingmaker, and so it might change a little bit. Maybe he's still like Graham Potter. I'm teasing a little, but maybe he does. Still without a job. Anyway. Let's just hope we can perform well, because we all don't want this to be a wasted season. I think the changes that need to be made are simple, frankly. I think they're fairly obvious, and they should be made. And we could perform well. We could play well. But these next 4 games are big games in order to, leading up to some really tough games, and they have to be won. Okay? That's what I have for today. Been an hour. Appreciate you all. Thank you for watching. Again, we will do the live stream on Friday. I'll do something between now and then. We will do the live stream on Friday. Picking the team, voting, all that, seeing how it changes. and everything there. So thank you all for watching this video. Yeah. Well, and look, I'll read the Daily Mail article. It's interesting, all of that. At the same time, it's to me clearly putting, it's going to be something from Ten Hag kind of being put out there. We'll see. We'll see. I believe it when I see it. His job is to get that through. I don't want to see words in an article about how we want to be more aggressive and we want to do this and that. Coach your players. Show us on the pitch. Okay? See you all later. Bye. Thank you. Enjoy your week. Talk to you later. Have a good one.